This year, I finally had the pleasure of fulfilling a promise to take my great-nephew Dax on his first backpacking trip. Since his family lives north of Spokane, we decided to try hiking the southern section of the Kettle Crest Trail, which fulfilled another goal of mine since I grew up in this area too and always wanted to hike this trail. Dax's mom, my favorite niece Becky, was a great sport to drive the shuttle and drop us off at the White Mountain Trailhead. Dax didn't get an easy introduction to backpacking because the trail took off right up to the top of White Mountain, and it was in the 90s with an excessive heat warming and smoky to boot from fires both near and far away. We eased the pain by stopping to gorge on some of the biggest, juiciest huckleberries I've ever seen. Thankfully, the trail was gradual with several switchbacks, and we were soon able to celebrate conquering the first mountain. It would not be the last mountain we had to climb. Our first water source was a pencil-thin trickle that seemed rather measly to me. It would turn out to be our best water source of the whole trip. We arrived at our campsite right on time at 7 o'clock. My guidebook said that there was a spring and a meadow with a good place to camp. Unfortunately, the spring was dry, and this was the meadow. We were pretty pooped by then and running low on water, but there was nothing else to do but keep hiking. The trail seemed to never stop climbing uphill. It was getting dark and breezy by the time we arrived at the Snow Peak cabin. These are pictures I took of the cabin the next morning. This is a rental cabin that requires a reservation, so we searched for campsites in the area and the spring to refill our water bottles. By then, it was full-on dark, and no one had arrived to take possession of the cabin, so we decided to risk it and get out of the approaching storm. After I got home, I went online and paid for our night in this wonderful oasis that appeared just as our need was the greatest. We set out early the next morning, full of gratitude for our cozy night's sleep in the cabin, listening to the rain on the rooftop. Here's our water source from the previous night. This water defeated my SteriPen, so I was also grateful for the propane stove in the cabin, which we used to boil the water. Well, I think that overall was 13.5 miles for the whole trip from White Mountain Trailhead to Sherman Pass. Yesterday we did 10 miles and over, I'm going to say 3,500 feet elevation gain. That was a pretty strenuous day. Overall, pretty good trip. What was your worst thing that happened on this trip?
The hills.
The hills? There was a lot of hills yesterday, wasn't there? Yeah, I'd have to say my worst thing was getting to where we thought we were going to camp.
Oh yeah, and those springs.
And the spring was dry and there was no place to camp. So we had to push on for an extra mile and a half and another hour. Actually, it ended up being an hour and a half before we did find a place to camp. What was the best thing?
The cabin.
Yep, finding the cabin and staying there. That was a nice surprise. I thought you'd say the blueberries. Or the huckleberries, yeah.
Them too.
Huckleberries that were the size of blueberries. And yeah, I think laying in the cabin and listening to the rain come down, knowing we didn't have to deal with that, packing up in the morning. Cool. Well, this worked out pretty good. I gotta say thanks to my great-nephew Dax for being a great trooper and not whining at all, putting up with a pretty dang strenuous day yesterday. Well done.
Thank you.
Might have to do this again sometime.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Take care. Sign off. That's what happens when the big guy sits down.